For May the 26th. We're looking at Jeremiah chapter 19. I just want to be clear, there haven't been any other devotions this week. This is the first one. I've been doing one devotion a week for the last 3 weeks. I might continue to do that, I don't know. But I just want to be clear, if you're looking for a devotion for May 26th, this is it. And it's Jeremiah chapter 19. We want to be in prayer for the Williams family today. That is Eric and Christina and their children, Morgan, Georgia, and little baby Ellis that was just born. So we'll remember to be in prayer for them today. So Jeremiah, continuing to call God's people to repentance. Chapter 19 sort of is the middle chapter in this little story that we have here in Jeremiah of him and the symbolism of the potter and this vessel that is broken. In chapter 18, we see that God tells Jeremiah to go to this, this potter, this guy who's making this clay pot. And as Jeremiah is watching him, he sees that he sort of gets halfway done with the pot, and I don't know, he just decides he wants to make something different, so he mushes it up and puts it on the thing and reforms it and starts over. And God uses this symbolism for his people and how he's making them. And he talks to his people about the authority that he has over them as his people. He has authority over all nations, even nations who don't call him their God. And so he's speaking to them about his power to judge them and for them to be what he wants them to be. It ends up in that chapter basically with the people, the prophets. They don't like Jeremiah. They don't want to hear anymore from him. And so they're speaking out against them and plotting and what they might do to get rid of him. In chapter 19, we see another image with this pot. He takes this... he goes and buys a vessel, an earthenware from a potter. And he takes it to this gate, and he is instructed to smash it. And he basically says, this is the message from God because of what you have done, because of your idol worship, because of the bloodshed, because you haven't repented. He mentions things about them like killing their children, things that he said, I didn't have anything to do with that. You've departed so far from being my people and what I say is right. And he says, I want you to break this pot and say, basically, this is what I'm going to do to you as this pot is broken and it can't be fixed. And so Jeremiah is obedient and he delivers this message. It's not a message that the people want to hear again. And if you look at the beginning of chapter 20, which we'll read tomorrow, you've got this priest who basically decides to take matters into his own hands, and he has Jeremiah arrested, put into stocks as a punishment. And when Jeremiah gets out, he speaks a word. Again, he doesn't change his message, okay? His message of God's judgment. This whole thing is sort of interesting. I read it, and it feels like to me he's pleading with his people, but there's almost this sense of the people think they're kind of like playing tug and war with God here. They want God on their terms. They want to continue to worship the way that they want, and they want to continue with their idol worship and these things that God says are detestable to him. And they want God to be fine with it. They don't want to hear these negative messages from Jeremiah. They want to listen to the prophets who say that God is happy with what they're doing. And, there is this why can't God just let that happen? Why can't God say, oh, all right, I'm tired of fighting with you. You can keep doing some of this stuff. When we know that God is holy, right? And we know that God doesn't change. And God cannot and will not allow them to win and to go about their way, because that would mean total destruction for them, right? They're fighting for something that would lead to their own death. And God will not let them win. And so we see God use this imagery of this pot being broken. It's the destruction and the judgment that God's going to bring on them that they don't believe is going to happen. And I think when we see this moment of this pot breaking, it's God saying, that's it. You can't put the pot back together after I've broken it. And so this judgment is going to come on you. So there's a problem here, though, that God cannot allow his people to be people of sin, the people who hold on to their idol worship, people who want him and they want themselves. They want their sin and they want their way. And of course, we look at it from this perspective, and we understand that that's why Jesus had to die, right? God had to solve that problem for us. He had to solve the problem of our sin that we wouldn't let go of. And that punishment that he is going to bring on their sin is the punishment that ultimately the wrath of God for sin that fell on Jesus Christ. As I read this passage today, it just reminds me to be thankful for that salvation. It reminds me of the destruction of sin and why God does not allow us to have and will not allow us to have sin in our life, and ultimately he does away with it. I am thankful for this passage today. If God spoke something to you out of it, leave us a message on Facebook, on YouTube, and let's remember to minister to one another. God bless you guys, and thank you for taking time.